Morning. Checking 1 2 3 1 2 3.
Morning, John.
Hey Scott, how are you doing?
Doing well. I got to go get to a meeting real quick, but I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Hey Val. Hello.
I guess it's just you and me for a minute.
For a minute, I'm kind of wondering where everybody is here. Val, are you there? I can't hear Val, but let's see. I'll mute you, Val. Tim.
Good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
Great. How you doing, John?
Good, thank you. Good. Well, I can't unmute Val, so we're just going to wait on everybody to come in, assuming people are going to come in. I decided to do the last two on Zoom because we could talk and do that kind of a thing here. But if no one else is going to come on, let me see here what's going on. I'm waiting here. You guys just get here with us first. I got a message that we're meeting here.
It was on the Facebook group.
Yeah, apparently they didn't because people are waiting for me on the webinar. Can you guys hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Okay. Apparently, for whatever reason.
Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay. Hey, what's up, Brandon?
Hello. How you
Hey,
doing?
I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Guys, we've got a little cross wires. We got half people on the webinar, but there is no webinar, so I don't know what's going on here. Let me.
Yeah, so there was the email, the auto email still went out back
Oh.
to back, the 24-hour one.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
I wondered about that when I saw that. I saw that first this morning. Then I remembered we had this link.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to drift there, get everyone over into this. So hold on 1 second. Tommy, hey, what's up? Toby?
Hey.
Hey, man. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Still jet lag like crazy.
I can imagine,
How was
man.
your trip?
A lot of flying back and forth you were doing.
Yeah.
So I'll wait till everybody else figures out that it's supposed to meet over here. So let's
Just leave them.
Maybe open the webinar so that way when
I don't
people
have a
come in,
link
they
to it. I don't have a link to it.
Hmm.
So what if I did?
Okay.
I don't subscribe to my own emails. So I mean,
They're so good though, you should.
give me 1 second, guys. Trying to get everyone to get on the same page here. Sorry. All right. Okay.
It was bound to happen for some people. There was just
First time this really happened. I mean, it's like I think we all just forgot about the auto responders going out. So
yeah.
So everyone, we're gonna meet here today, in case anyone's curious. So all right, I'm gonna wait for the confirmation from everybody else. We can run a little bit later today, I guess. So not a big deal. Well, tell me what's going on. Share what's happening with your progress in the course or in life in general or in copy or in whatever you want to share. This is your hour or so.
I'm curious where Dovey is now.
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't make it in Toronto? You didn't make it back to Israel?
No, I'm spending a week with my family before heading back.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's freezing here.
Oh
It's
my
so
God.
miserable. It's like misty rain that just gets everywhere. And it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm missing the Eurovision in Tel Aviv now, so that's perfect.
Okay, good time.
Well, it makes you miss Santa Barbara weather a little bit. So
Santa Barbara was great.
yeah. So Debbie came up for a couple of days to Santa Barbara with my friend and ex compadre Travis. Attended our investors party, and then did a day of consulting, which was really great. So that was fun.
Is that Travis Cody, John?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I remember Travis.
Yeah, it was great.
He's an ex-compadre.
Well, he used to work for me, so.
Oh, I thought he still does.
No, well, he works. He's not as an employee. He'll do contract stuff here and there. Like I use him to do copywriting a lot, but and he's going to be a part of Copy Pro Academy, but not from a. He worked as a salaried employee for 3 or 4 years. So, yeah. So yeah, that's the situation. So you guys talk to me here. What's going on? Since I get my employees over here.
Honestly, John, I have not had even like 7 minutes to sit down and think of copy. So I'm just going to listen in and hear everyone else's questions.
All right, cool. All right, Leanne, you're there?
I'm here.
Well, apparently the autoresponder went out and we have people on 2 places. So
We did. So I started the webinar and told everyone to jump over here.
All right, told everyone to jump over here. Good. Well, so I'll make sure that Liana knows to unplug the autoresponder. Hence, these things happen. You know, we stopped selling products before and then had autoresponders go out before, so it does happen. So, all right. So we'll just go down the line here. Val, you want to say something?
Good morning or good afternoon from Washington, D.C.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
It's cold here too and raining.
Well, oh yeah, East Coast, man. I miss New York City, but I can't live there for the weather. So
it's raining everywhere. I mean, Italy is raining. Has been raining for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's really weird. My friends have been sending photos from Vancouver, which apparently looks like sunny and 70. So I can't wait to get back up there.
Oh man, that's exciting.
Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So other than bad weather, let's talk about copy. Let's talk about what you guys' challenges are. If there are challenges, or you guys have just already mastered the craft and there's no point in going further. So we got all our questions answered. So we'll go up the top here. Davi, you said you wanted to check out and listen. Scott, what's going on with you? How's the homework going? How's the course going? Did we lose Scott? Oh, Scott said he had to jump out to a meeting. So
Well, he's on, but he's muted.
Hey, Jason, what's up? Yeah, he said he was on like the first guy on. He said, hey, I have to step out for a meeting real quick. So I think that's what's going on there. So Jason, you on? Jason? Okay.
He is muted.
He is muted. All right. So give me a pressing topic, guys. This is the last week here. So this is your stuff, not mine.
Well, something I didn't get to explore yet, although I brought it up once and you said there's some product for it, and I believe it was Accelerator, is hooks. So can you just direct me exactly where I need to go to learn everything I need to know about hooks or headlines?
Yeah, we have actually called the hook and headline formula. So it's aptly named hook and headline formula.
That's in Accelerator?
That's in the Accelerator bonuses, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Leanne, is that in Thinkific now, or where's that?
It is in Thinkific, so I need to make sure that everyone has that. I'll have to check with Liana.
Okay.
Okay. So
it might be there. I haven't had the time to look, and I just want to make sure that I'm set on that, because that seems like one of the most important things.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also, if I'm not mistaken, did I do that as a webinar, Leanne?
I think you did. It's one of our bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a training, like an hour-long training. So.
Yeah. So and that's in are you guys, is that in the Thinkific side, or was that okay? So
yes.
Yeah. So David, just go to Thinkific and it's there. So.
All right. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah. That's, I think that's the one that I did that we filmed at my Malibu home. Is that correct, Leanne? Was that filmed at the original Samurai Mastermind?
I don't know which one Liana put in, to be honest, because we got a couple.
Yeah, I did a couple. I did one at the very first time I did it was at my house. I did it in a private mastermind setting, so it's kind of cool. So
I was there for that one.
Yeah. That was fun. So it's really good to have. It's just kind of weird how you think through these formulas and you don't really, when you deconstruct things and how you're thinking of them, it really helps. So what I did in that training, for those of you that haven't seen it, you've got headlines that auto generate inside CopyPro. So everything I could have possibly put in there is multiplied times 10 because I'm using Carlton headlines and Makepeace headlines and every copywriter we could pull in, we were mimicking their headlines and different structures and stuff, So that's another way to just take the pattern and use it, fill in your stuff, and it will just do it for you. But the hook that's not possible to do with a hook. You can't auto generate a hook, right? You can't. There's not a formula. Well, there's not a verbal formula for a hook. I mean, but so what I do is I go through and do this whole like kind of mind mapping thing about how I think about hooks and come up with different ways of coming up with just different ideas to come up with things that you want to call something, And I remember in our mastermind class in our mastermind setting rather, we had people come up with some great hooks right there live on the spot. So that's why I was kind of wondering if it was that one or not. So
I'm looking for it now on Thinkific or Thinkific, and I don't see that.
Okay, let me check. I'll check with Liana about your account, your permissions, to make sure you got it. Because it's definitely in there. And it is the one at the house, John.
Okay. Well, there's no way that Adobe wouldn't have it because he's got everything else that everybody else has. So.
No, of course. I just want to check his permissions.
Unless I took your advice and kicked him out of the class. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to mention that. I didn't know it was private.
No, it should be like the primary name of a course, or is it a subsection of one of the other courses?
It's the primary name. It's actually called the Hook and Headline.
Yeah, I'm not saying it here.
All right. Yep. I will just. Yeah, that's good. I'll just make sure you get the right permissions. I'm doing that right now.
Thanks, Liana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been battling. It's been permissions like crazy. We've been battling it on other software and our own software, not software that you guys are in with CopyPro 1, but CopyPro 2, the guys that have been tapped to do the CopyPro Academy stuff. And we can't send out our quiz yet because their permissions are kind of crashed the CopyPro 2 system. So they didn't crash it like it's not a bad thing. It's just very complicated. So I don't know if anyone of you guys know software coding or whatever, but for whatever reason, permissions is doing it post facto is a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine.
When you come up with things like, oh yeah, after the fact, after you write 300,000 lines of code, only these people can access these 182,000 lines of code or whatever. Yeah, it's one of those kind of things. So I'm just FYI, I'm doing going out to Digital Marketer on Wednesday. So Ryan and I are having dinner Wednesday night talking about CopyPro. And then Thursday all day, I'm doing a training there at Digital Marketer headquarters in Austin on CopyPro and doing a webinar for their DM Lab guys. So if any of you guys are members of DM Labs, I'll be on their live office hours. Is it office hours or office space? I wish they would have called it office space just because the movie's great, but office hours if you guys are DM Lab members. So yeah, so that'll be fun. Podcast, all that stuff. So that's coming up. So Friday is going to be a little bit hazy on times. I think it'll be fine. It should be totally good for our same bat time, same bat channel. It'll be like 11 o'clock my time there. So we're all good. That will be it. So I'll be concluding this from Austin, Texas, along with is Big Bunny around. Where are you at, Jason? Guess where I saw you in here.
It's a big rabbit.
Yeah.
Outgrowing the bunny phase.
Big Bunny. No, he's around here somewhere.
The big rabbit is still muted, but
I'm trying to unmute him. So, Judy, you unmuted? I was going to say, I'm hanging out with Jason. So Jason lives in Austin. So we're going to be doing some, a marketer powwow and dinner in Austin at some steak place that's 90 miles away from where I'm going to be staying. So,
Oh my goodness.
Hope it's worth the drive.
yeah, he said it's like a 30-minute Uber ride or something. I don't care. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. Well, trying to get him on here. Text or something, man. Are you like doing your cardio workout? Are you sweating too much? What's going on, man? Judy, are you around? Are you audible? You're not. You didn't appear that you are muted. So.
So I am here.
All right, cool. How are you doing?
Hanging in there.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Appreciate it.
Good. Daniela, hello. And how are you? Other than, I'm assuming, cold and rainy?
Yeah, it's cold and rainy in Italy. I'm doing great, thank you. I'm happy to be home.
I thought you were in New York.
No, I'm in Italy now.
Okay, so you went back to Italy? Is this recent?
Yeah, just visiting family. I have two big children here, so I just came
okay.
out to visit them. Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
So, and let's see, did we get through everybody? Scott, you're back. Scott.
I'm back.
You can say something. Hey, what's up?
Back in blue.
Oh, tell us something good, guys. What's the biggest thing? Let's go round robin. What's the biggest thing you got out of Copywriter Blueprint, and why would you say that somebody should buy the course if we ever make this into a course, which I don't know that we're going to do, but what's some of the biggest things you got out of it? So I'll turn this into a shameless plug if no one's going to ask me questions.
I look at people's copy, whether it's online or listening to a radio ad, and I'm like, you're trying to do too many things in one section here and talk about too many things, or there's no primary goal. I see the pattern or the hex where things are missing now.
Oh, cool. Yeah. See, once you see the patterns they're kind of hard to miss after you see them.
I'd love to one day go through this again, hopefully not in the not so far distant future, but and kind of draw it on paper, like overlaying things of all the layers of this to whenever I sit down and write something, make sure everything's included.
Yeah, it's handy. It's handy.
Or not everything, but whatever is needed, like just to make sure I'm not missing or forgetting.
Yeah. So how important were the things that you learned? How do you think it's going to help you as a copywriter? Hello?
Who's that question addressed for?
Oh, that's addressed to anyone that wants to answer it. So,
Definitely the use of the words. I love the contrast. I mean, the empathy. If I could tell you, you just clearly describe empathy. But you have such a passion for this. A lot of people are good and they know things. And if I had to equate you somebody else who's very passionate about this, it'd be Todd Brown. But I've loved your passion and your love of words. But my favorite sections have been the empathy.
oh, cool. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that comparison. So that's great. Thank you. Right.
Yeah, the quadrant index were pretty insightful for me. Kind of systemizing it a little bit. So I work better actually when I kind of have some boundaries. And I feel like I was doing a lot of things instinctively, but didn't know why. And now you have both kind of given some structures to what I already had, and then also given me extra that I wasn't even aware of. So I'm able to, I guess, and as I've joked with you before, I regularly hear your voice in my head when I'm writing sometimes, when it's just like some of the things that you've just hammered so hard throughout the course. And it's like, oh crap, hold on, let me go back and redo what I'm writing because that's missing something, or what's the purpose of the sentence. I feel like I basically evaluate every sentence through the filter of everything I've learned.
Cool. Thanks, man.
So that's been awesome. So I actually write down some random questions. I have kind of a wide array from some professional type because you're you, and I would never get to talk to anyone like you in other parts of life. And then some things specific to the course as well.
Sure.
One thing that was pretty interesting is you mentioned a few times offhandedly kind of the journey you went on with work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
Could you so you said you were in a pretty bad place at one point.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in a good place now. What does that look like? What kind of advice do you have for people that are aspiring in their various fields?
Yeah. So this is the guy that created an audio program that the first 4 audios, I think it was audios 3 and 4, had this whole balanced life is a myth thing.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I would have said a balanced life is, it's the idea of trying to keep plates spinning and trying to keep them all spinning,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
which is impossible. So on some level, your life's always going to be slightly out of kilter. It's the thing I managed to do is to pull it back into some degree of semblance of normalcy and the number one thing I did to do that was stop taking on 87 projects.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So now as a copywriter, if that's all I did, which it's never been all I've done. I mean, I think I've done nothing but copyright for like a year of my whole life, where I just wanted to do nothing but write. But even then, there was digital products going on. There was other stuff going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Genius Network every year for the first 5 years. I guess it was going on, or not the first 5 that was going on, but it was a couple of years after it started. And every year, the guys that were making hundreds of millions of dollars would tell me the same thing. Every single year, every single one of them would say, your biggest problem is that you're trying to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd get hot seated by these guys. And I'm like, I've got this going on. I don't know about this. And like everybody's saying, look, just pick one thing, just take one thing and go do it. And I'm like, I can't. I have literally 2 different careers. I mean, like there's not, you can't just, and the most strongly advocating guys for that position were like, choose one and drop the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Technically they're correct,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to just weigh against which is what I did, is to weigh against how can I keep all of it. And then just basically what I've done with the fitness side of things is all but get rid of it from a workload point of view.
Okay.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I worked on the project, last week for maybe 10 minutes, and I've got, and to do that, I gave up 66% of my company.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that adds a lot of time back into the equation. And then when I just say no a lot, and people that want me to write for them, I say almost always say no. And then, I mean, again, you have to have the ability to do that, but it's also, you have to have the ability to walk away from the money,
Mm-hmm.
So, the Copy Pro became very all-inclusive, almost by design. So, so there's just no way around the fact that if you want life balance and you still want to succeed on a massive level, get rid of everything but one thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so hard to do. I'm not saying, or do what I did, which is like, which I think is a better plan. It's like, okay, just like, get rid of it in all, but, in the percentage of it. So Evan Pagan's a friend of mine, and I haven't talked to him in a while, but he and I both have the same CFO, and we know each other for quite some time now. And I know that Evan's idea for this, when he got married and had his baby, was like, okay, there's just no way I can keep doing this. So he wanted to own 10% of 10 companies.
Okay.
So that's another way to look at it. So you can like be 10% involved in 10 companies. That makes up 100% of your time. But that 10% involvement by its very nature can't be too all-inclusive of time,
Mm-hmm.
So, these are just the things to consider. Smaller pieces of this, give things away if you can. Take on partners if you can. I'm partners with Jason in CopyPro, for example. I didn't want to do the whole thing I couldn't do the whole thing by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, and the rest of it's just been, let me know if this is helpful to anybody else, or if I'm just talking to Brendan, it's cool too. But I mean, I want to make sure this is helpful to everybody else. But if you don't have, Like if I was still married, I'd have plenty of time for it. It's like there's just not a problem with that in my space. I mean, even on days where I'm super busy, and I've made my life that way because that's what I desire. That's what I enjoy. Same with working out. Same with other things I do. There's just making just conscientious effort to just make sure that the fundamentals are not out of your life. When the fundamentals go, man, everything goes. I mean, you stop taking care of yourself physically, everything will fall apart. Everything will fall apart. So that's what I used to do. I used to, before I got into fitness, before I had my heart attack and all that stuff, my whole consumption would be like, back then I was a graphic designer. It'd be like, okay, well, let's work 18 to 20 hours in a day or whatever it might be. And, that was the reason I couldn't eat healthy. That was the reason I couldn't go to the gym because I have to work. So I created this brick wall around me. And now it's like, this never gets taken away. And I never get less than 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
If I get 7 hours of sleep, it's a rarity. It's because I have to catch a plane or something, So ever. I've walked my own party. I can't remember, Davi, if you were still here or not, but I left my own party early and went to bed. There were still like 20 people or whatever in my den. I'm like, okay, going to bed, guys. And I had people flying from all over the place, and no, this does not budge. And so other people will let you tell you, oh no, these are some of these guys, not many of them, but potential investors, and a lot of them were people that would work in Coffee Pro and stuff. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm like Jeff Bezos in that area. I'm very guarded at my sleep. So that's the best advice I got for you. I don't know if that helps or not.
John?
Yeah.
Why have you never done a product on heart health?
I'm doing one now. I started one and I put it on the side for the very same reasons I'm talking about. I started one.
Yeah.
Bit over 40 heart healthy program. I started that like 2 years ago, and then put it on the side as chopping block material. And so what I decided to do instead is, my friend John recently had open heart surgery. I decided, because I knew he was going to be laid up for a long time, and so I wrote his letter for him. And so I'm just going to take a percentage of that. I wrote his letter with my own ideas, made him write his book around these ideas, and now somebody else can own it. So those are the kind of things I just try to do. So I can do a good deed for somebody, but also, I don't have to worry about eating outside the writing of it. So.
I mean, just with your background, having had a heart attack early, I mean, and it's such a big area.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. It's one of those on the 1 day projects. But again, if I put that on the Kanban board over here, if you guys haven't seen my Kanban board, it's like it's all pretty much one thing on there. If there's nothing on there, there's a whole bunch of stuff on the other side. There's something I'm even more passionate about that I started writing a book on, that I'm halfway through with it. I haven't picked up that book in a year. So it's on the chopping block because of the things we're talking about. Because if I take that on, I'm going to get, my attention is going to get diverted, and I'll end up with not being able to have a life. There's a difference between like yesterday, I decided I'm taking the whole day down. I work for 30 minutes with one of my customers. I go, I'm not doing this today. Just this not happening today. So, and so 30 minutes was the amount of time I worked. The rest of the day, I'm like watching Game of Thrones. I'm like driving down the hill, enjoying the weather. Just not even remotely doing anything. So yeah, I don't want to give up days like that. I'd rather be doing something even more constructive if I was it just wasn't set up to do that yesterday. But nothing's better than just working your ass off all the time. So.
Well, all of that stuff like Games of Thrones and stuff like that, that's all feeding into the hopper. It's like you can't just output. You also need to have times where you're feeding the hopper. I go into these areas where it's like word starvation, right? So that when I get into that point, I know it's like I need to go off and read, maybe fiction or something, just to kind of refresh all of those neural circuits. Right.
Yeah. I'm not doing it. I would tell you if I was doing it for that reason. If I was doing it for reasons, I'm not. I'm doing it because it's cool, and because I like it. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I actually like until the last 2 years, I really enjoyed the storytelling and the narrative of Game of Thrones. I mean, this year's just a joke, but it's like you're kind of watching it now because it's almost like, okay, I've been on a really terrible date, and the least I can do is like walk her to the front door. So I'm walking this series to the front door and never to be called again. So,
so John, is one of the were you saying that one of the books that you're working on is one on Kanban itself?
No, I'm writing a book on love and intimacy, which is my
okay, right.
topic. So that's my favorite thing to talk about. And I've been doing that for the work's been 2.5 years now. So which normally it takes me 2.5 weeks to write a book. So I feel like
to get in the cold shower.
yeah, different reasons. But yeah, a lot of it is just simply because I know the gravitas of picking that back up. I know when I was writing it and into it, I was already starting to give interviews about it, and I had like 20 people wanting to have me on podcast, and it was really, really. I've talked about it on podcasts before. If you guys can catch these straight podcasts, but I just know that's going to be all encompassing, and there's no way I can divert the gray matter necessary to do it right now.
Can you post the links in the group?
I had them. I never collect them.
John, can you give us maybe a challenge now?
Big problems. That's actually one of my big challenges.
No. I mean, we're talking about lots of other things. Like, can you throw out a challenge? Like for the next 5 minutes, we should go and write something on something.
I'll give you guys a challenge.
Yeah, let's do a little practice.
Can you share a big challenge you have? I go, yes, this is one of them. So,
oh my goodness. I thought it was like a life challenge.
A life challenge.
Now grow in this area, guys.
Yeah, I can give you guys some really good life challenges, I think. So, have you ever done the epitaph exercise?
Yeah, I think if I've.
What do you want on your tombstone, kind of thing, right?
Right.
Right. There's something better than that, I think. It's a friend of mine has a great saying. He goes, the only meaning of life is the meaning that you give others, the meaning that others derive from your existence. So, so what would you want somebody else to say about you? And whether it be a stranger or someone that you care about, they're going to talk about you as a person. But if you want to like really leave an indent in like the professional world, what would it be if somebody who doesn't know you as a person, but knows you as a writer or knows you as a, whatever you want to be known as, a business owner, what would they say? So I always think about what's the legacy that you're leaving behind. And man, we all, not to get back on Game of Thrones, but this is a great example of what used to be really good writing. And by anyone who's a fan of the show, most people think that the writing's just gone to shit. So, and it's difficult to keep that writing up for a period of time when your principal writer is no longer on the stuff. So, guy writing the books is going, I'm taking a break for this. But when you're writing stuff out, you get these characters that are very, and they're very interesting because they're very convoluted. There's not really great characters. There's not one thing, they're not just totally evil or totally good. Those are very, very boring characters, right? So the thing I wrestle with, and the thing that I think everyone should wrestle with, is what am I doing to hurt my legacy without trying to be a perfectionist? And that's where it gets really tricky. So, what's the legacy you want to leave behind? That's a tough one. When you start talking about legacy, you have to get out of your own way. And that's really hard for people. I've talked to friends of mine about this, and they're like, I don't think I'm going to leave a legacy. Why? I don't know. I just think that's really narcissistic. No, it isn't. That's self-limiting, right? I mean, the limitations of that belief are staggeringly off the charts. So
I think it's just the opposite, isn't it? You're narcissistic to not think about it.
I agree. You'd be solipsistic not to think about it for sure. But so let's just take this from a different perspective. If somebody else was going to create a movie about you, how would it play out? How do you want it to play out? Rather than looking back on, okay, after I'm dead, who cares? Okay, what about right now? Like if next year somebody was going to make a movie about you, what would they be thinking? What would they be saying? Like you've seen these biopics that are just, and the guy or girl they were talking about is like, No, that's not even close to how I was. I mean, I was sitting next to Jordan Belfort during the screening of Wolf of Wall Street. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but Jordan and I have been friends for a while, and I did some of the marketing for Wolf of Wall Street when it came out, and that was kind of fun, you know, to get to hang out with those guys. And Jordan, to say the least, is a mixed bag. That's an understatement of the year, probably. But it was really interesting to see him, a guy who wrote a book on his life, talking about the movie, which they were going to be really faithful to, and for him to sit next to me and go, "Yeah, it didn't happen. Oh, it was much worse than that." Oh, that's about right. That's about right. Oh, that was God. It was much worse than that. So just seeing like how somebody else reflects, you know, how they view your life, even with a script given to them. Like, here's the book of my life, and they go, okay, I'm viewing it this way. So you know they're going to get this off, right? So how would somebody look at your life, you know, that doesn't love you? And here's the big thing: people that love you are going to look at you in the highest possible light. They may know your greatest secrets, but they're also, by definition, your greatest fan. So how would somebody else look at you? And are there things that you care that you want to change? You ask for big exercises. These are things that go through my mind. Like if who knows who Salty Droid is?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. Anyone else know who that?
Yeah.
Okay. You know that guy. So, you know, as far as I know, he's never written anything about me. I've actually, well, after I found out who he was, I got really, so a few times in my whole life, I've gotten really violently angry, like to the point of being, you know, outside of like competition or something. I'm talking about violently, like wanting to hurt somebody, wanting to throw caution to the wind and going, "Oh, you think you can hide behind the law? I will fucking beat you senseless." You know, that kind of a comment, not because of what he said about me, because he said nothing about me. He says something about three of my really good friends that I know for a fact isn't true. I know because I know these people. This is not true. It couldn't have been a worse character assassination. You could throw 4 in there really with Andy, but he was right about some things about Andy. But Andy is the only guy. Andy Jenkins is the only guy I know that ever reached out and actually managed to track this guy down. And he managed to track him down and have a conversation with him. He didn't want to hurt him. I wanted to go. I had the worst reaction to this I've ever had. It was so toxic. My wife at the time said, "You just got to get away from this." It's like, that's just not normally me, you know. But it wasn't. I'm very loyal to my friends, and it's like it was just hurt. This guy's just such an asshole, right? So you get guys like that who are going to say something really terrible, right? What's the average person that doesn't have a tiny dick or whatever his fucking problem is, or it dropped on his head by his mom as a child or whatever, whatever his problem is. Now, someone apart from that, someone who's got, you know, a neutral view of you in the professional world, and what do you want them to say? Like, for example, it's like, you know, I didn't know him personally, but I read his stuff, and I could tell he was a guy that had a lot of passion, or a girl that really believed in what she was talking about. You want them to say things like that, probably, right? How can you make that amplified enough in your current existence, in your current way that you present yourself, to make that that documentary how you want it to go? That, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's going to get stuff wrong, and knowing that. And then here's I've actually challenged myself with this one. Is what if someone said, okay, but he or she had a dark side, what would that be? And would you be okay with that? Like, there are people that are perfectly okay with saying, yeah, I used to be a drug addict, or whatever the case may be. I went through drug addiction, and I'm on the other side of it. Now I'm helping that's actually part of their story. And then there are people that are completely in the closet about whatever they are dealing with. Where do you land on that spectrum? And I was really just challenged. I've been challenged for years to live like as much as humanly possible, as authentic of a life as you can. And that's a really tough thing to do when you're a copywriter. It's really hard.
Why do you think it's hard? Because if you're a copywriter.
Because we get asked to lie.
Oh, okay.
Because we get asked to, and so you've heard me say this a million times that you know, you can say this without, you can make the case with this and not lie. You can like, that's why I love stories, and why I love going through the things that Dovey has made clear to me that we can't do on Facebook. So because by saying you, which you apparently can't do, you can really evoke a lot of truth without ever even exaggerating. You're just taking, this is what could happen if you keep going on this path, for example, the whole nightmare story down to the ultimate fear. But so I'm not talking about lying. The Ginsu knife never needs to be sharpened kind of lies. I mean, I'm not talking about that. And I'm certainly not talking about the lies of, this product can cure cancer kind of stuff. I don't know anyone personally that's gone that direction, that's said those kind of things and knew that it couldn't cure cancer or whatever. But I don't know a single copywriter that hasn't done false scarcity at some time, or hasn't, said, exaggerated something. Even the name of my book is designed to be provocative, designed to be like, what? The 4-day diet. Okay, Dobby and I talked about this. So he's saying, if you don't mind me sharing this, let me know, Dobby, about changing it to 4-day diet protocol, right? Because it's like, it sounds, and I was laughing because that's exactly what I wanted people to think. It's what? It's a diet that lasts 4 days? What is it? Because it's and I explained thoroughly in the letter, look, this is a 4-day calorie cycle. And I tell what it is in the letter, but people hear 4-day diet, it's catchy. So I don't mind that kind of like hyperbole, catchiness, like, what was it? What was it?
It's clickbaity.
The 1 minute millionaire. I know I'm not going to be a millionaire in a minute. But I know that there are 1 minute changes to my state that could make so I don't mind it being clickbaity, as you would say, or as long as it's clever. So the 1 minute millionaire, I think that was the name of the book, if I'm not mistaken, but something, there was a 1 minute manager or something like that, but it was something like that.
Whole list of them, actually.
Yeah, whole list of them, right? But the principle of the book is not a falsehood. It's true. But still, as copywriters, and one customer I work with, the only guy I only work with 2 people right now, and because I don't time, again, managing time. And one of the guys I work with, it's like, it's the toughest thing for me to do, because I get to write stories based around nothing. I get to just create, because I like to write stories. So I just take examples of real life that's happened and make these stories really, really emotional. And so, I don't want to, I do this for fun, it's kind of like I could turn my brain off for a while. But there are guys that do nothing but lie about, products effectiveness to get as many people to buy it as they can. And, and I have to deal with my team, my fitness team going, oh, we've got these 19 upsells we want to run by you. And it's like, I didn't write them. So, and I don't have on there that I did write them, but yeah. The couple that were in there, I have to go back and make sure I would say any of that. It's not easy to live that model. So, yeah, I think hopefully people will look on me and say, yeah, the guy was all around an honest guy that was also honest about the fact that when he was dishonest, honest about the fact that he struggled with I want to live a life that's beyond reproach. And I haven't achieved that yet. So, but that's the goal. So,
by the way, in terms of, like, you were talking about, people who would not knowingly sell a cancer cure that didn't work. Isn't there, the thing I always think about isn't there like confirmation bias? I mean, if you're selling it, it's like this statement, what is it? Never depend upon a person to say something true if their salary depends upon it, kind of thing.
You were cutting in and out, so I didn't hear all of that. I don't know if that was on my end or somebody else's end. So could you try that one more time?
Same here.
Okay.
So if somebody is selling something which cures cancer, don't they have a certain amount of confirmation bias to believe that that is true, even if, maybe by somebody else's viewpoint looking onto it, it doesn't?
Well, but okay, by definition, it doesn't cure cancer. I mean, if you said that, like, for example, there's this black salve stuff that got rid of my sister's cancer on her face, and it was really crazy to watch it happen. I wouldn't say that black salve is a cure for cancer, because all the oncologists in the world would be looking at this stuff from under every microscope you can think of, and and getting it out to as many people as humanly possible. And then you got to get into conspiracy theory nonsense about like, oh no, the government doesn't want, well, so what, all governments don't want you to have this now? Every single government in the world? So it's just, so there is no cure for cancer, but you could say this helps cancer or whatever without any sort of ethical drawback. Now, you can't, I'm not saying what you can say from Facebook's point of view or from the FTC's point of view, but I'm saying like if somebody has an ebook and they have First Amendment rights in the United States to say this, I had no problem with someone saying, I use this protocol and my cancer is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. So if that's a fact for that one person, and the person says, listen, I can't guarantee it's going to help for everybody, but everyone I put this on, and maybe that's a fact too. Everyone I put this on, the past 30 people have put this on, all their cancers went into remission. Let's say that's true. Well, then you would be lying not to say it.
Right.
And that's where it gets really interesting, and where I get like really frustrated with Facebook, even though now, thanks to Dobie, I understand it a lot more than I did. I get it a lot more than I did. I used to have a real hard on about those guys. I mean, because they were worse than the FTC, worse than the FDA. I mean, but now I get it. Now I understand it a lot more. But I still maintain the policy, just from an integrity point of view, that if this worked for me not to say that would be, for me to water it down would be just as unethical.
Right. No, I remember there was a guy on a forum, probably 15 years ago, who was selling this book on, this guy who cured cancer. And he said, yes, it cured my cancer. But if you got to talking, in conversations with him, you would find out that he diagnosed himself with cancer. He had never been diagnosed by someone else.
All right. Dobby, are you around? Dobby?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just muted.
Okay. So I'm making sure that just because I try to respect conversations that are held in private, are you cool with me talking about what we talked about regarding?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I don't think people understand the context though.
Yeah, but it's because I'm guarded about private conversations, so it's just part of that whole integrity thing. So it's like, hey, I was just talking to this guy the other day. He told me his wife said, that's not going to happen with me. So, well, we were talking about, he does fantastic consulting. If anybody needs Facebook help with like getting stuff, how does Facebook go about their approval process, and what are they looking at? What's Facebook algorithms looking at? So all that stuff. I used to work for Quality Score, which is a big company that helps people scale really large on Facebook. And to understand that they're looking for, their number one goal is for the users to get value out of a click, for them to feel like the moment that they click on something that they've gotten value out of it. And that right there, when you start looking at all the stuff that I instigate, which is funny because I was the instigator of a lot of this stuff that's causing the problems. The autoplay VSL, I was the guy that removed the controls from the VSL. I think I started that shit. So I'm not looking at user experience. I'm looking at, okay, how do we sell this product the best? Because it's a product that people need to have, and I'm a kick-ass marketer, and I want to. So I'm coming at it from a capitalistic point of view. From it's a great product, people need to have it point of view. Exploring new boundaries of marketing point of view. That worked for a while. It doesn't work now. And they're like, because they're trying to get, okay, what's the greatest value you can get out of that click, right? But also, what can you say? So when we were going on about like basically removing a lot of pronouns, like if I say, you may be experiencing, joint pain in your lower back and blah, 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 versus saying people report experiencing low back pain. Okay, that just depersonalized that a lot. It's like or even more, when this happens, low back pain could be the result. Okay, now I'm just taking out almost all personalization from that. Now I'm just doing it really quickly. You can correct my language there if you want to, Dominic. But you get where I'm going from, where I'm coming from. So now how that ties into honesty is really interesting. How that ties into like having a message of integrity is pretty cool, because if I'm wanting to say, look, I believe one of the main reasons a lot of people have heart disease is X, and I used Y to reverse my heart disease. And this is the conversation he and I were having. And he said, well, you can't reverse heart disease. Yeah, you can. I got pictures. I got pictures to prove that I did. Now, but I know what he's trying to say. The CDC says that you can't. Yes, the CDC says this because from a from a disease point of view, diabetes, heart disease, gout, I can go down the list of things that are non-curable. But if it's non-curable and you do something that makes all the symptoms go away until you die in your bed of natural causes, what's that, the difference between that and a cure? And at that point, it just becomes a verbal issue, you know, like, so, so while I can understand Facebook's reticence to say, okay, this can reverse heart disease, even though technically it's true. If the CDC says you can't reverse it, they're coming at it from an honesty compliance issue of like, well, the disease state doesn't go backwards. So I don't know if any of this is making sense or not, but I'm trying to say, like, for me not to say that would be dishonest. For me to say this can help your heart disease or whatever, it's just, let me see if I can say this, and I'm going to turn this over to somebody else. So I'm not the only one doing the talking. For me, saying this could potentially help your heart be healthier is like saying to my son, if you play with a gun, you may potentially hurt something. It's just as absolutely, you've what's the word I'm looking for? If ever there's a time that you want to like take the fangs out of something, that wouldn't be it. You know, you want to say, look, you could be facing grave illness unless you do something. If you really believe that, right? It gets a little tricky. So honesty is not as easy as it is. It's not as easy of a concept to talk about as you know, without completely, you know, valorizing the entire concept of what you're trying to talk about, which is what Facebook kind of wants you to do, but they're wanting to do it for better reasons than I used to think that they do. Yeah.
What's interesting is that when you talk about making user experience better or worse, right? So we know what Facebook considers better user experience, right? Or value per click. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, if your product really works, and obviously the format you invented has been applied to many bad products as well.
Sure.
Plenty of those. But if, let's just say you put a good case scenario together and we're talking about a good product that actually not only helps like the generic people, but will help a specific person as they click on the product. So even though the VSL is annoying, autoplay, no control, you know, nothing you can do, you're just kind of stuck on the page. I mean, if you think about it, if it actually helps them, and that is the best user experience possible. But there's still that shorter term horizon, and that's what we get stuck on.
Now, there's an interesting thing about that comes out of Kahneman, right? Which they did these experiments with people who had colonoscopies. And he talks about remembering me, and I forget the other dichotomy. But if they could have had more pain during the colonoscopy, but if in the end the colonoscopy ended in a better state than one where they had less pain, the people actually reported having less pain for the overall experience.
Right. Are we? The thing is that we want to be careful with is tap dancing really close to the. Are we the ends justifying the means? You know, slippery slope argument, right? So like, which is I think I love philosophy obviously, and I love those deep philosophical questions. Like, you know, if you had to kill 10 people to save a million, those are great questions to think about, because that just forces your brain into uncomfortable territory. But the other part to think about is there's nothing wrong with me saying, as a marketer, I want to do something that's going to sell the most amount of products possible within ethical reasons. So it's not unethical by definition to turn off the volume control and page control. I turn off you can't stop the video. So there's nothing written in Ethics 101 that says thou shalt not remove the positive button. You know, that doesn't exist. So, but when people will call that, they'll go, "Oh, that's just so unethical." On whose standards?
Yeah.
On what planet is that unethical? It's like, if you don't want to watch it, I didn't remove your browser power to close the window. You know, it's like, it was a great gag to get people to actually pay attention to what you're saying. Like, I can't stop this. You know, I've had people say, I just felt like God wouldn't let me pause the video, so I was meant to watch it. I've had those emails. So, and I'm like going, no, I just removed the pause control. It's like, sorry, it wasn't divine intervention. But it's just kind of entertaining because you know, getting back to the thing of honesty and what you guys life exercises, I'm sure this got way sidetracked from what Brendan was actually wanting, but
oh, that's all right. I just insight. I just eat up any insight that you give. So
my thing, man, is like, and Leanne is on the call. I think she's still on the call. She knows it because she's heard me wrestle with ethical dilemmas for years, and honestly, really small in comparison to other people. So that is true. But the things that I do wrestle with are in my mind, they're large. And the fact that I want to wrestle with them is good. The fact that sometimes I go, you know what, just fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. That's sometimes my position. It's like, I just can't figure it out. So fuck it, do it anyway. So if I err on the side of something, it's usually erring on the side of doing it. It's not. So there should probably be this part of you that goes, you know what, I don't know what the right answer is, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not saying I've never done that, but I'm saying, like, sometimes in marketing, I'm going, you know, I can't find a way out of this. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. Or I'm just, you know, other reasons that are just not necessarily the best reasons. So
we have to remind ourselves why we're being hired to take on the project in the first place.
Well, tell me more about that.
There's a balance.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
No, just to produce results.
Yeah.
And within reason, yes, follow an ethical path.
Right.
But within reason,
right,
we are being hired to achieve the highest possible result we can manage.
Right. It's the within reason part that we're in the
absolutely
right. So
the question also is within reason of what, like whose ethics?
Right. If it were up to some people, if it was up to hyper moralized people, all marketing would be outlawed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, like, all selling is evil. We've heard people make this argument. Selling
only once you make what other people consider money.
Yeah, there's people that think money is immoral. They're called communists.
Well, we talk a lot about the morality of selling and making money, but it's like in Atlas Shrugged, I think they have a really great thing where it says we consider money the root of all evil, but you have to look at what the root of money is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've never understood. You know, the as you know, the passage is the love of money is the root of all evil, and that got pared down to money is the root of all evil, which again is a great example of how people will pare down your message and pare down you as a person and say, I'm going to characterize this person not because they're trying to be mean. I don't think that was ever deception. It's like my dad went to his grave swearing that God helps those who helps themselves was in the Bible. Yeah. That's not in the Bible. So it's like I kept saying, Dad, all throughout seminary, I was like, Dad, that's not in the Bible. Just so you know, that's not a passage. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. And it was kind of funny. It was not anything we were like really arguing about, but it's like you just hear something over and over again, and as they say, repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. You know, so. It's easy for us. I'm gonna point all the fingers. It's easy for me to tell a lie about myself for all the right noble intentions, or maybe some non-noble intentions, and that becomes reality over time. And then you have to backtrack and go, wait, what's the truth? And at some level, you get so far away from your point median that it's really hard to get back to it. Yeah. So in the end result, it's got to be how is the majority of people affected by something. You know, what's the overall net positive, that you're doing, and
is that even knowable?
It's somewhat demonstrable if you're in my position. It's somewhat demonstrable, meaning that you've created specific products or you've written for specific products, and you can see just an immense amount of people that do that.
Right.
But you can always, no matter what product it is, that's only 5% of the people. 95% of people buy the product. Look at the numbers on this call.
Mhm.
We're seeing this played out right here and now. I mean, I think the most people we've had on a call is 18. 30 people bought this. I've had people not show up one time. So is that my problem? No, so, not at all, because I'm showing up and I'm over delivering. Okay, honest question. How many of you think I legit over delivered? Please.
1,000%, yeah.
Okay. Anyone think I under delivered on this? I mean, or that was ever an intention of mine, that in any way under delivered? It's like, so it's not that you could have what I think is one of the best products you could ever create, whether it's a personal experience product like this one has been, or a digital product or a software product like we have CopyPro. And there will always be problems with it. There will always be CopyPro it's not littered with problems, but it's got problems like every other piece. Hell, every software's got problems, right? For what it is, it's remarkably problem free. But I look at the problems and go, okay, let's do it. But no one, if someone buys it and goes, oh, I can't believe they sold it because it has this problem, that's their moral failing, not my moral failing. And I will completely stand on that. But on the other hand, if I sell it and go, oh, it will do X, and I know that it won't, it will do, this thing will produce, you can speak into a microphone and out comes any sales letter in anybody's style ever written. People would buy it, and I go, oh yeah, the fine print says that's in version 55.0. That's we're only in version 1, but that's different. Those are clear, but it's the in between stuff that I think the more you wrestle with it, the better you. For whatever reason, the better I think that you are as a person. The better you.
I have a question about.
Compass.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll toss you guys a real curveball here. Oh man, if we go into moral dilemma. I mean, I was again philosophy major. We cheat. We talk about moral dilemmas walking into class at 9 a.m. So it's like we wrestle with ethical dilemmas before you eat breakfast. That's part of what you do. That's part of what you study, ethics and epistemology and how you understand truth and how you know anything, right? So we'll throw things by like, is this always wrong? And there's almost nothing that is always wrong. I mean, so and understanding that can give you way too much power. Like, well, maybe it's okay that I tell people they could speak into a mic if I could get them to buy it, because if I could get someone to buy it, maybe they would use it. If they would use it, it would help them. But that's where I draw the line of that is I won't say anything that I know is not true. So
I think the example I was thinking of in terms of do we know if it's going to actually help them is this is my classic example is the whole thing about if you have a homeless person who is asking you for money, and let's say maybe if you smell alcohol on his breath, it's like, are you helping him by giving him money?
Right. A guy that lives in two cities that are known for its homeless populations, Santa Barbara and Vancouver. The answer that I give is I will get out of my car and I will give somebody a blanket, or I will get out of my car and go, are you hungry? Let me get you some food. When I lived in LA, I would walk down the street and go, somebody would ask me for money. I go, let's go over here. I'll get you some food. 80% of the time they would turn me down.
Mm-hmm.
So
I did do that with some people. It's very interesting talking to some of these people. Their life stories is just fascinating.
It's not what you think. I mean, it's not what you think. There's a lot of really, really interesting, good homeless people in the world, and some people just are hungry. And so it's nice to be able to say, "Hey, you want something? You can help somebody like that." But yeah, it's like, are you people that just they want to feel virtuous? We all like to do something where we feel good, right? And there are some people that are just professional virtue signalers. They're called Hollywood actors. You should check them out. They're often frequently seen on Twitter. Virtue, hashtag virtue. It's like, that's all they care about is signaling their virtue, right? I don't give a shit about that. If somebody to actually do a virtuous thing for somebody that is going to help them, makes you feel good. It's kind of like the drug it's a great drug. It's like selling something. It's like selling something that is going to help somebody else, but unless they pay you for it, they won't be invested. They won't be invested enough to do anything with it. So you must sell it, and getting that through and getting that and understanding that there's one person out there that would say, hey, if you could only give it to me for free, I'll take over the world. Yeah, I know. life's not fair. Sorry, that's just, it isn't going to work that way. So yeah, it comes down to the game of numbers. I'm getting a message here saying, Daniela, did you have a question?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt the beautiful conversation that you guys were having. I just have a simple question in regards to Copy Pro, if I can ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I pull up the sales letter and it comes like 22 pages. So my question, I have a set of questions, first of all. The first one is like, is it 21 pages, like landing page too long? What do you recommend me doing with that?
Those have sold, depends on what you're selling. I mean, some of the best sales pages in the world are 11,000 words long.
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
and
no, it's not linked, it's interest. And so we've got a short version sales letter in there that's like around 2,000 words. And that's a good sales letter to start with. That's not the one you're talking about. You're talking about my sales letter. You're talking about the 50 million.
Yeah.
Right. That's the one. That's an actual real that's taken from, Old School New Body, which, it's done by itself, has done $20 million. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, does it work? Yeah. It was the #1 product.
Right.
So obviously, yeah. But people ask me the same thing about VSLs. Aren't VSLs too long? No one's ever going to watch a 60-minute video. Well, tell Craig Clemens that. This company's going to be worth $1 billion one day. I mean, I'm not kidding. Gold Depot is going to be worth $1 billion one day. Right. VSLs that are an hour and 20 minutes long, some of them, Yeah.
20 minutes.
I think also for Daniela, whatever product you have, you just have to make sure that you have established every belief you need to establish in order for the person to make a buying decision.
Yeah.
So some things are really short, right? Like if you're buying something inexpensive that you don't really care about, you don't have to establish that many beliefs, right? So it depends everything that you're selling, and you just make sure when you reread your letter that it establishes all the beliefs, it overcomes all the objections, and then that's the link. As John said, it's not, and of course make sure it's interesting, but you can remove sections if they're establishing beliefs that you don't need to establish.
Yeah. And test. And if it's $16 versus $160 versus $1,600, length and price go pretty much hand in hand. The higher the price, the longer the letter usually needs to be. Unless it's something like, I have a cure for cancer, it's one pill, and again, I'm joking with the cure for cancer, but if you have something that's got such an obvious thing, like I'm selling a Ferrari, you don't need a 10-minute, an hour-long VSL to sell a Ferrari. You do need an hour-long VSL to sell something that would be competing with a Ferrari that no one knows about. Better damn well have an hour VSL. So.
John, I have a question about Copy Pro Academy.
Okay, hold that question, guys. I don't want to cut her off. She says she had several questions, but we'll get back.
I thought we're done. All right, I'm waiting.
Yeah. All right. So and then I have, in regards to the 4-part close, that is not clear to me. When should I use that?
At the end of any sales letter, at the end of any webinar.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, that's a teaching tool. So it's like, you want to just think of closing. The idea was to get you to think of closing in a series of closes versus like, here's my close, which you hear a lot of people say. That's why there's like, there's like 21 known webinar closes. I think there's like 21 or 22. So yeah, I mean, you want to close all the time. And my point with that was like, if you got a VSL especially, or if you got a sales letter or rather a webinar especially, where you have people on, why would you stop? There's no reason to stop talking ever.
Right.
I mean, until you just get tired. I mean, so if you've got 100 people on and people are still buying, there's no point in stopping talking, which is why you need to have like an armament of closes. So,
yeah. Right. Okay. And same with the Q&A, right? So I'm going to just put in there and trying to kill all the objections, and that goes at the end of the letter. So if they're still reading, meaning that they're really interested. So I'm going to okay.
Yeah. Q&A is, if someone's at the Q&A, this is why it's, we developed that Samurai Q&A thing for video sales letters. If somebody is watching your Q&A, they have watched your entire VSL. Either they walked out of the room and came back, or they've been watching for 65, mine are 65, 75 minutes long. It's a long time to watch a video sales letter. And they're watching, and if they're watching by then and they're not buying, they're not sold yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use that Q&A, and I'm going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. I mean, you can go a lot longer than I go. You know, you can do a Q&A that just keeps going and keeps going. The point is that you want to make sure you get every single objection out that you can. Because at the end of the day, all this honesty stuff that we talked about, it's great to wrestle with these things. At the end of the day, it's still a commerce-based world, and we need to sell something because we need to buy bread for children, you know? So we need to make, so let's sell it the best way that we can, and let's sell a product that's really freaking awesome, you know, and then sell it like hell, man. Just pull out all the stops. Just, you don't have to lie about it. You can just, so that's what I'm doing with the whole Samurai Q&A. You can take your customers' best testimonials and turn them into questions. Some people would consider that a lie because technically they didn't ask it as a question. I'm not that morally strict to myself. I'm like, it's the same exact thing. So it's like, you know, it's for me. That's that. Everyone's got their own area they can dance with. I'm like, oh, that's not one of mine.
Restructuring it.
Not one of mine. Yeah, so that's not one of mine. I can appreciate somebody that would say that as long as it wasn't in a judgment process, but yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one in regards to the guarantee checklist, how do you do that? I mean, do you say that during the on the sales letter, or just a downloadable, like as a bonus or anything like that? How do you mention that?
When we did it for Sherpa, we did it as a downloadable PDF that they would get. So you print out the checklist, put it on your refrigerator. Remember I said, put it on your mirror so you could see it? Yeah. So it's just something else that they can do to where they can check those things off. And
you mentioned that, sorry, and you mentioned that on the sales letter, right? Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I want to give them every sense of comfort that you can give somebody. But again, I'm going to keep saying this again and again and again. You can say all of that and they can put this on their mirror and just not do a damn thing with it. And I've heard well-intentioned people make an argument against selling, against what we do as marketers, because people like that exist in the world. So let me give you an argument in reverse of that, okay? Mm-hmm. That's like saying, so I'm not going to try to get into a pro-gun, anti-gun argument with you guys or a debate, because I used to own a firearm. I don't own a firearm now, only simply because I just don't have it. It's in a safe in Dallas. But I've been trained to shoot. I know how to shoot a firearm. So it's like, I grew up around guns. We lived on 60 acres. We'd go out and, you know, before I fell in love with rabbits, Jason, I used to shoot rabbits. It's terrible. Jason's going to kill me. He's like 85 feet tall too. He's going to murder me when he sees me. But when I was a kid, I shot a bunny, and it broke my heart. I couldn't shoot a rabbit after that. That's how I fell in love with rabbits. But it's like, it was good though. I ate it. But I grew up around guns, so it was like, it was not a big thing at all. There was no like ever anything in our house or how I grew up around that. And so when I moved to LA when I was 17, I was hearing all these weird things that didn't make any sense to me. Like, why are you on against, you know, I understand like the bad guys with guns. I totally get that's a bad thing, right? But why would you stop selling guns when they save the lives of about 20 million Americans every year? So it's like, I mean, it's like, really? It's like, why is that a problem? I still don't understand the argument. I get why people, but I get the emotional argument. I get when we see something like these freaking, it just breaks my heart. We see another kid that probably has grown up in a broken household, or probably doesn't have a very strong mom or dad figure in the house, or either, you know, or it has maybe mental problems. It grows up and grabs a gun and just has to freaking shoot up a school. It freaking kills. It hurts, man. The answer to that is not to say, let's take everybody's, that's not the answer to that problem. It's clearly not, when something on the other side of the argument is so much more positive. But no one wants to talk about both sides of the argument because they're so emotively charged. So I'm using an emotively charged topic to make a point. The same thing can be said of selling your product. There's always going to be somebody out there that buys your product that doesn't use it. Or, God forbid, Dobby, you said this a while ago, that bought Accelerator. You know how many people bought 3X VSL and Accelerator and used it to sell shit? I have no control over that. But you should hear me if you haven't heard the original pitch for that stuff, I literally tell people, I use the words fuck off on my webinar. I say, you can go fuck yourself. I remember thinking to myself, I probably shouldn't have said that. but it's on my first webinar. And I said, if you're selling something that you know is dishonest, I don't just want your business, go fuck off and die. I think is exactly what I said. And I figure, well, people will either like, oh my God, I can't listen to that kind of language, you know, or wow, he's really passionate about it. And because I really believe that, right? But I can't control it. And I would see accelerator style VSL selling pickup stuff and, you know, really bad pickup stuff and supplements that are just garbage. There's nothing I could do about that.
Before I got to know you, I would probably just say it's a closing technique.
The answer to that is not to stop talking about what we're talking about because bad people may use it. That's my point. That's not the answer to the question. Because bad people may have used something, we don't take it away. That's a silly argument for me, and it's been silly since I've been a teenager. So I don't understand that argument. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Ericksonian hypnosis or Ericksonian Institute, whatever, whoever is in charge of all of Erickson's stuff, not actually join that unless you are like a master's or professional in like psychotherapy or something like that.
Right, because they're afraid of personal manipulation. Yeah.
Basically, I guess. I mean, that's my assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, and on some level, I think that's really cool, and on another level, that's just juvenile because it's. I get the moral part of that, but they're also presuming morality. They're actually taking a moral stance of saying, I know what predictive morality looks like. I can say that if a person like a marketer gets a hold of it that doesn't have this advanced training, then who knows? That's also just assuming that because you have that advanced training, well, are you going to throw out the Hannibal Lecters of the world? Because who was a PhD in psychology? I mean, not granted, it's a fictional character, but there was real guys like that, you know? So that doesn't, yeah, that's a strange, there are certain trainings that we should definitely only sell to, like, for example, here's my advanced brain surgery 101. Okay. You have to have a medical degree. Okay. This is pretty common sense stuff, right? But I don't think you should ever stop selling something because other people abuse it unless, and this is the big caveat, let me say unless, caveat time, unless the abuse is so much worse, excuse me, or so much greater than the positive gain.
Nuclear weapons, right?
So nuclear weapons, like there's an argument to be made for nuclear weapons to say the reason we haven't had a nuclear war is because America launched 2 of them against the Japanese in World War II. I've heard both sides of this argument. I can understand both sides of that argument. That because once you've seen the horror of that, you probably don't want to repeat it. Now there's another side of that saying, well, yeah, but after a while the horror goes away and somebody else is going to do something. Their life is not messy. It's all messy in that area. But the places that it's not messy is when somebody takes a product that I've created and uses it for ill-gotten gain in a way against my explicit wishes, like literally told them to go fuck themselves. Nothing you can do about that. I'm not going to sell it less. That's what people want you to do. They want you to sell less to appear more virtuous. I won't do that. I will not do that. My virtue does not come from selling less. That's almost obscene to me. If I know I have something that somebody needs to have, I'm gonna come at you with all guns blazing because I know this is good. I know there's gonna be people that won't show up on this call. Both of those statements are true. But my presupposition to this is that you guys will get more benefit out of it than the other people will get lost. And I think that's so obvious. So yeah. If anyone's got a contrary position to this, you're welcome to take it. I'd love to hear it, but I just don't think that's a good position. So is this helpful at all?
Oh, no, I love it. I'm trying to be a little bit quieter because I just love the philosophical discussions and so forth. And I realize I get a little excited about that. So I apologize.
Well, it's a good. I get very excited about it, especially in person, but because it's fun. It's fun to talk about. I don't have a moral charge over it. Like if someone had someone had the exact opposite opinion. Like one of my dearest friends is a staunch anti-gun person. We should literally just throw away the Second Amendment and take away all the guns. And I'm like, when I have conversations with her, there's no emotional charge over this for me. There's emotional charge over her because she's got a soft heart, but not toward me. She knows that I'm not like some, oh, I just want to carry a gun in the back of my truck and go shoot shit. I'm not that guy, Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, if I bring up things like, well, do you realize that the majority of those gun deaths are suicides, or that most of them are gang related with 9mm gun. This is not a comfortable conversation to have with someone who has a moral agenda on something. Likewise, when you have a moral agenda on selling, when you say to yourself in your mind, or is somebody saying to you, wow, that's really salesy. You've heard this, right? That really sounds salesy. I think you should sound less salesy. Or to back to, if I can, and I don't know if this was part of the conversation Daniela was wanting to have, but Daniela, sometimes length is looked at in copy as being salesy. And I look at length as being, is it interesting or not? I don't care how long it is. It could be 30 minutes. It could be an hour. As long as it's interesting, it's got to be compelling. So if the idea is to sell something, that I like it when somebody says, you know, if someone tells me like, look, after they've made a good case, look, you'd have to be pretty much a moron not to buy this. I'd rather have someone tell me that than someone to placate me. So, and I would rather you take the approach of selling something. I'm going to sell this with everything I got down to the fiber of my being because I believe in it. You know, and yes, I like money, and yes, there's nothing wrong with those things, because if you do great things with money, what happens if someone makes a lot of money for marketing and then gives all the money away to the poor? Where's the conundrum on that one? You know, it's like, okay, well, so you're gonna have to make some real challenges on that. That's almost like a Robin Hood approach to things, right? But yeah, that's not what I'm doing. But I'm making a comfortable living and not trying to rip people off, and also just being a damn good salesperson. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Like there's nothing wrong with owning a firearm.
And yeah, would you mention the donation part on the sales letter? So every 10% of the profit will be donated or towards something.
Oh, yeah.
Would you mention that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When we've done that, I've done that for real on several of my letters, where we've given
I was thinking of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, everyone knows that's been on, not everyone, but some of the people, most people on this call probably know that we just did a telethon for one of my friends who, by the way, just texted me yesterday and said, I can fucking see.
Wow.
So he's going to make a video. He goes, I can see better than I could see when I was 20. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's like,
so good.
So he didn't know what his kid looked like. I mean, you know, so like, yeah, and that's kind of cool. But you know, what if that wasn't the case, and I did something where I'm selling a product, and I say, hey, listen, a percentage of this is just going into my back pocket that I'm going to personally spend money on to loan this money to a friend. It's the same outcome. But BioTrust does this really well. Joe Polish started doing it, and he did it originally as a marketing tactic with Bill Phillips. So Bill Phillips was one of the very first people to do the, hey, Body for Life, or it wasn't for Body for Life, it was for his supplements, I think, but where he said, you know, he's going to become he goes, portions of the proceeds go to Make-A-Wish Foundation. So that's all I said is a portion of the proceeds go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Well, they became the second largest donor to the Make-A-Wish Foundation behind Joe Polish, who started just saying, and he said, look, you know what? Originally, I just did this to increase sales, you know, and to do a good thing. Yeah. But that was the secondary thing. And then it became, no, I got really involved in doing the good thing. And now it just happens to make sales. And the same thing, BioTrust did the same thing now. They give away, I think it's 10% of what they make they build houses and for schools and do all this kind of stuff. They're still in it to make money. They're still wealthy. They're just also doing this other thing, right? So I think it's kind of like what the also part is. What are you also doing? You know, maybe that should be the question.
All right. No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, anytime. I hope this was well received. I hope. I'm reading something Scott said. Then I'm going to get to Dovey's question. I had
a question too, John, when we can get to it.
Okay, we get back to that question. Yeah, you guys just waited till 10 o'clock to start asking questions. I love it. These people get really angry when these people or salespeople are paid to help someone make a decision. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Part of what you're getting paid to do, that's a great way of saying it, better than my ramblings this morning, is you're getting paid to help someone make a decision. You know, let me just say this, and I will get immediately to Davi's question and then to yours. You're not trying to sell someone that doesn't want to buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
You create a sales letter to sell to anyone who is on the fence or has already sold and needs to be a little bit pushed, right? You're not trying to sell to someone that's completely against something. Like I'm not trying to sell a keto diet to a vegan. I'm not going to market, hey, vegans, come check out my keto. Can you do keto and veganism? You can if you're sadistic, if you're absolutely a sadist. But yeah, I would not. And so yeah, you should just ditch all of your vegan ethics entirely and just start eating this. That's just an obscene thing to do, right? Likewise, just you write letters to know that most of the people you're talking to, they already know they want what you're talking about. They go through the list of, I can't afford it, I'm not ready for it, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, I'm too that. That's your job, is to get them over those hurdles. Okay, so we're going to go to Dobby's question. I don't want to forget it. Dobby?
Yeah, I have a question. And before that, I just wanted to add one more thing about this, like how to look at sales. I think it's kind of like if you're going and trying to pick up a girl, and then she's like, oh, you don't want to talk to me, you just want to hit on me. And you're just like, well, yeah, I want to hit on you. You just kind of like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out. And you just very like forward about it, and just show there's really absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely.
Like when you say something in that tone, it implies that there's something wrong, but I don't understand why there would be something wrong with it.
You're so the last girl I had a date with, I met at TNC, and we went to dinner, and so I said I had a date with her. I went out to dinner with her, and I didn't know she was married because she didn't have a ring on. And so it was a completely innocent thing. And she goes, are you hitting on me? I said, oh, I'm absolutely hitting on you. Yes. I know that we're going to talk business, but I find you very attractive. And yes, I'm having a date with you. She's going, okay, I find you attractive too, but I'm married. I went, oh God, well, I didn't know. And so it was like, we spent 3 hours, the next 3 hours laughing about that. She goes, but at the end of 3 hours, she's like, God, I just wish men would have been much more that way. You just say, yeah, I'm absolutely hitting on. Yes, sign me right up for that. So yeah, so there's a great deal of when you're just being completely over the top honest, not Brad, Brad's book that just gives you permission to be an asshole. But yeah, I mean, so I sat next to the guy. Trust me, he's an asshole.
Who's Brad?
He wrote, just drew like radical honesty. So the concept of radical honesty is really cool. The fact what we were just being is kind of radically honest, but he also used it to, honey, do I look fat in this dress? Yeah, you actually look like shit. I mean, that's just being an asshole. There's just a lot of different ways you could say those kind of things without being a jerk. And the staff would basically tell me, he basically just uses it to be a jerk. So that's not, to me, that has a tinge of dishonesty to it. Even if you are being completely blunt, like there's a way that you can do that with it. You're not being honest to the sense of, if you consider integrity honesty. So let me get to the other questions before I forget. Tim, you had a question?
Oh, I want to ask an actual question.
I'm sorry?
I wanted to ask an actual question. That was just a comment on the discussion.
Oh, okay. Ask her.
Yeah, just about Copy Pro Academy. So I was just wondering if you explain more about, like, if we bought the program, like what would be different than this? Is it just kind of the back end of Copy Pro, and is it a training for copywriting, or is it just more of a thing to work in Copy Pro?
It's both, but it's more how we certify you to work inside CopyPro's backend.
Got it. Okay.
Completely different than copywriter. The philosophy is covered because it's 16 weeks of dissecting stuff, so you're going to learn a lot of it. But a lot of it's like, how do you learn the language of this machine? Mm-hmm. So you were in the presentation, so you saw those. I dissected and you've seen the language of the machine because you guys have all gone through it. Well, how do you write in that language, and how do you actually do that technically inside the machine? So, and then how do you make money off of it? So that's our goal, is to get copywriters to be putting, the more stuff you put on the machine, the more percentage you make money off of it. And our goal is to employ a whole bunch of copywriters. So.
And can you do this as a part-time thing, or are you looking for people to?
Oh yeah. The vast majority of our guys will be part-time. I mean, the guys we're looking to hire for the company would be full-time. Like that's different. But the guys that are doing Copy Pro Academy, we want to have 6,500 people through the academy by the end of 2020. And I'd say probably 6,200 of them will be part-time, because the nature of copywriting. But what we want to do is like Uber, like a lot of Uber drivers are part-time, and they just supplement their income, or they're still doing other things. But there are people that want to do writing, the people that want to do writing full time, I want to give them a platform to do full time writing, where they can make a lot more money than they could if they had to go out and sell it on the street and have a guy call them up and go, hey, I need a letter written, you know. Tim, I want to not forget the question.
Yeah, John, just a quick technical question about Copy Pro. I think Dovey touched on this one time before. And I noticed as I was working my way through developing the whole niche that I had this sense that I wanted to be able to work more in context of what I'd written before above it. Is there a way to see everything in a linear fashion?
Yeah, the easiest way to do that is to print a sales letter and do a blank niche. And then you can, or do your niche.
I just forgot.
Yeah. Just take your sales letter and you can see it literally inside of a literal context. So like we're in Copy Pro 2, we're going to have an area where you can go down and say, you know, look at, you'll see everything that you've written in one kind of fail swoop, but that's still not in context. The context that you're wanting is in context of a letter. So that's the reason why we built Copy Pro the way we did, is some people really like to just go through a letter and fill out, or an email and fill out the fields they need. And so they're seeing it completely in context. But in training, I think it's not as nearly as good. In training, you want to learn, you wouldn't know what a secondary goal structure was if I just said, go out and fill this out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So unless you were really cool and watched the videos, which are all done, by the way, finally.
I'm thinking more in terms of flow and tense. Are they correct from what I finished, where I finished yesterday?
Yeah. Just print out a sales letter.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. You got it. All right, guys, any other questions? We went a little overtime today. And I'm going to ask you guys, if it's cool inside the group, if you wouldn't mind doing like a minute, or like no more than a minute, just a, even 30-second video testimonial to say, hey, copywriter blueprint, here's what I got out of it. If you wouldn't mind saying some kind words about it, because I feel like we really have over delivered. And we got one more session left, but hopefully you guys feel the same, that you got a lot out of it. If you wouldn't mind giving me a glowing testimony, I would really appreciate it.
Sure.
John, I got a quick question.
Yeah, shoot.
When do we get access to the Samurai Masterclass?
That's now. You should have now.
I think that there's different accounts have different things in it. So maybe you could put out a list of all the things we should have in our accounts, just so we can all check against it.
Yeah, Leanne, can you? And that shouldn't be the case, Davi. That shouldn't be the case.
No, for example, the hooks one that I asked about at the beginning class wasn't in mine, and then Leanne added it. So I know for sure that there are some things missing. And the Samurai Masterclass, I don't see either. So that's why I think it might be like that.
Yeah, but the Samurai Masterclass doesn't come until this week, so it just might not be up there this week.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it should be up there this week. So, Leanne, can you check into that?
I got access to the hooks class in this session.
Yeah. That's in everyone that I know of should have access to. I have no idea why that would be the case. So I don't do that side of the business, guys. If I do that side, again, I'm gonna get back to the original question that Brennan asked. If I did that side of the business, no. I mean, I have people email me, they Facebook me, and say, ask me customer support questions. I go, I don't do that. Support at email, I can't. And so you have to say, as much as I want to help you, I can't. I just can't do it. So I don't know the answer to those questions, but Leanne does. That's her job. So Leanne, you with us? Did we lose you?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay. So Leanne it's actually, technically speaking, it's Liana's job.
It's Liana. So now I got to go to
Liana
Liana because she handles all the tagging and all that stuff. So I'll make sure that everybody has everything.
Yeah. All right, guys.
So I added 2 more things there, which was transcripts, because I haven't seen any transcripts yet. And also I was wondering if you thought, John, any more about like putting together word lists that you'd commented on a couple times.
Yeah, we haven't done the word list yet. So it's that we want to do a juicy verbs list. It's just that with everything that's been going on with everything that when the camera goes off between then and the end of the day, there's just a limited number of hours. So that was a bonus I wanted to give you guys, but we just don't have it yet. So and besides, we would put it in Copy Pro. We wouldn't make we could print it out too, I guess, but we could do that. As far as the other goes, the transcripts, my understanding, and this is again, I don't do this side of the business, so my understanding was that was being done from the word go as we go along. And if that's not the case, my apologies. But Leanne, can you check with Liana about that? And by the way, the transcripts are not with our meetings, these meetings. We're doing transcripts of the course. So just so you guys are clear. So but Leanne?
Yep,
check?
I'll check with Leanna.
Okay, let's check with that. So, all right, cool. All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me for longer than normal, and we will see you on Friday. And again, I would really appreciate the kind words and feedback on the Facebook page, please. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome, guys.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.